And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes, and I'm back with another video. So we're doing another episode of the Squad Tip series. So if you guys are familiar with that one, I've already done 2 episodes, so go check those out. I am a day late, so I apologize for the delay. I had some stuff to do last night, so we're gonna get started here. If you're new to the channel, man, subscribe. I do these episodes once a week. I usually do them on Sundays or Mondays, but like I said, I got a little delayed because I had to record the podcast. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. So we're going to start off with my man Jules Bailey. He's running Opal Baron Davis, Cam Reddish, badged up Karolinko, Jamison Bosh. On the bench, he's running Ben Gordon, Wesley Matthews, Zion, Wayne Embry, and Anthony Davis. So looks like he runs on current gen, has 215K. Looking to upgrade bench shooting guard for the most part, and any other suggestions. Runs a lot of 5-out and rim runs, and looks for open shooters. Okay, easy enough. Right off the bat, starting lineup looks fine. Like, maybe some cosmetic changes that I would do that are just personal opinion, but I mean, if the starting lineup works for you, I would just like run it. Now, Ben Gordon's incredibly good. In theory, you could sell him in order to upgrade your bench shooting guard from Wesley Matthews, but not necessary. One thing I would recommend right off the bat, though, is to sell Zion. Zion's still going for close to about 150 to 200, depending on the day. His price is so high to the point where, look, realistically, we're going to get another Zion card pretty soon. It's inevitable. 2K likes to release Zion cards like candy at this point. We're going to get a bunch of them. I know you like this duo with him and Anthony Davis, but I would recommend right off the bat getting rid of both of them. You could sell Anthony Davis for around, I think, 75 to 100. Once again, he kind of fluctuates as well. But you could get yourself close to anywhere from 250, well, around 250K if you sell both of these cards, right off the bat. Replacing these cards is going to be the key. As far as the small forward goes, you could get a better, less expensive small forward in Danny Granger, who is basically, if you swap Zion for Granger, you're netting yourself about 40K, right? Pretty solid. As far as the center, you could just straight up swap for, you know, like a Dino Raja, who ends up working really well. If you don't want to go that route, I would say Marc Gasol's probably going to be over 100K. You could go with another budget guy like a Brook Lopez if you do want to keep that same energy, or realistically, you could just keep Anthony Davis and use him as such. That's also a good option. I'm not a huge Anthony Davis fan, but if you do like the ball handling ability of Anthony Davis and you like him in the lineup, that's fine. Now, that being said, if you want to remain with that Zion dynamic duo, that's also totally fine, but I would recommend moving on from those guys as soon as possible, just because, like I said, Zion's price is going to tank at some point in the near future. It's just a matter of when, and if you can still get 150K to 200K for just this card alone, it's probably a good idea to move on from him. Now, with that being said, you're looking for mostly an upgrade on your bench shooting guard. That we can do. It just depends. With your playstyle, any one of these 3 guys realistically will work. If you wanted to go for more of a pure sharpshooter, Glenn Rice is obviously going to be right up there. He has an incredibly fast release. He does have Hall of Fame steady, which I don't find it to be that big of an issue, but some people do. He's not going to be like a secondary ball handler or anything like that, which is something that you might need at this point. We'll just swap those two because I'm assuming that's how it goes anyway. So you might need like a secondary ball handler. If that's the case, I know a broken record is what I sound like at this point, but Rudy Fernandez is going to be right there. He's going to run you about 30K. He's not going to cost you really anything. And he's going to actually work really, really well in this offense. And honestly, because you have enough defensive help up here, I might even move Rudy Fernandez up to the starting lineup, Cam Reddish down to the bench, give you a little bit more of a defensive punch. But if you like Cam Reddish in the starting lineup, that's fine too. And if you're looking for a 3-and-D guy who's purely just going to play defense and shoot threes, you're looking at an Eddie Jones type. Now, it all just kind of depends. Like, if you need someone to kick out and shoot from absolute god tier range, I would go Glenn Rice. If you're looking for more of an all-around type of player, Rudy Fernandez is obviously going to be your best bet. And if you're looking for purely a 3-and-D type of guy, because you operate mostly with Ben Gordon and Zion having the ball in their hands, Eddie Jones is perfect. So it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for, but either one of those three guys are going to be the dudes that I would recommend, at least for the most part. So next up, we got my man Marcelo Squad. He has an interesting squad. It's not bad or anything, it's just an interesting squad. Chris Bosh is another thing you might want to move on from at some point, but for the amount he produces and the amount he costs, he's actually a pretty good budget option at this point. So you're running Markelle Fultz at point guard. You have Terry Dissinger at shooting guard, already fine. Danny Granger, perfect. The exact 1-2 punch that I use. Antoine Jameson, okay, so you got some really good free options right off the rip. Jameson, and then you're running Embry. Okay, so your team's basically free options. That's totally fine. All four of these guys are going to stay. I can tell you that right off the bat. You do have bronze clamps on Allen Iverson, who's a free card as well, and him having bronze clamps is definitely going to be helpful. Rudy Fernandez, so you got another scoring punch and ball handler. Cam Reddish, another, well, he's not really free, but technically free guy. Thurl Bailey, another budget guy. And Bosh. Okay. So you got a really nice budget squad here right off the bat. Number one, Markelle Fultz. I don't know if it's a big thing that you like him. So you have 196,000 MT. Definitely looking for a new point guard. Usually run pick and roll. Try to get shooters open. Okay, AI's badged up. Most guys are badged up. Okay. Right off the bat, I would say one thing that's going to help your team a lot, if you have Thurl Bailey shooting badged up and you like Thurl Bailey, I would say run with him. But at the same time, you could just go get a badged up Andre Karolinko for around 50K. That'll probably help your bench unit out quite a bit. He's not too much different than Thurl Bailey, but he does have a faster release and he's a better ball handler. So if that's something you're needing on the bench, that would be the way to go. But I'm not going to tell you to get rid of Thurl specifically. Thurl's totally fine on its own. But if you're running into the problem of not having enough either shooters because you don't want to badge Thurl Bailey up or not enough ball handlers on the bench, replacing him with AK-47 is a really good move. As far as point guard, now if you do want to replace the point guard, it just kind of depends how you want to go about it. If you don't want to tank yourself on MT and you need someone who's going to play like Dwayne Wade and he's going to be like a very efficient scorer because you have a lot of good defensive players, you have a lot of length, you kind of just need a primary ball handler and someone who can three-point hunt. Geoff Petrie is a really good option. He's going to lack some badges for sure, but you can pick him up for legitimately like 15K, and he's going to be an excellent budget squad option to tie you over until we get some new good point guards, just because this season has been kind of whack on point guards so far. Yeah, like obviously I could tell you to go get Ben Gordon or Sexton, but at the same time, like you want to save as much MT as possible while still having a competitive team, and I think Geoff Petrie fits your playstyle, and he also costs like 10 to 15K MT. He's got that gold range extender too, so he's going to be able to be shooting from deep as well. He's got decent speed, decent dribble moves. He's a Dwayne Wade clone, so he's got that super fast base 98 jump shot. He fits your playstyle. You could always obviously drop him to the bench and put AI in the starting unit, but I think he makes more sense up here. You are going to need to add some badges to him to make him a complete point guard because he does play more like a shooting guard initially. But I think for the most part, your team's fine, and I would keep it the way it is for now. Like, you can make small little changes if you really wanted to. Like, if Chris Bosh isn't playing good enough defense for you and you need someone who's going to be more of like a stand-in defensively, you could always go and make a move and grab like Brook Lopez or something of that nature. But I think for the most part, your team's looking pretty solid. Yeah, obviously, I would tell you, yes, sell Chris Bosh and Thurl and grab AK-47 and Dino, but that's personal preference. Like, that generally may not make your team that much better, especially if it doesn't fit your playstyle. Like, I run Dino as a point center, so that's why I like him so much, but for the majority of players like 80K, I don't know if he's really worth that. So I would just hold firm here, grab Geoff Petrie. Even if you didn't want to use any of your MT, you could sell Markelle Fultz and grab Geoff Petrie. Now, if you wanted to go even more of a budget option, and you just needed someone to fill in for a bit, Jarrett Jack will be just fine. He lowers your overall, he evos, he's incredibly good, and to be honest, if you didn't want to spend any MT whatsoever and you wanted to go for a free guy, a card just dropped today that is absolutely insane. I don't even know if it's on this website yet. Yeah, it might not be, or his name is Brad Lee, I'm not sure. Let's see, did they put him up here yet? Yeah, it looks like they haven't even, 2KMT hasn't even put it up, but we got a Brad Davis card that just dropped today that you have to complete the new Spotlight challenges to get. That is an Evo card, and once he's Evo'd up, he becomes one of the better free point guards in the entire game. I believe he Evos to a diamond. He has like range extender, like 9 or 10 Hoff badges, like 30 something gold. An incredible free card, and I think that's another way to go about it. He looks to be about as good as Petrie, but I haven't played with him yet, so don't take my word on that as of yet. So right now I would say Petrie or Jarrett Jack if you really didn't want to spend an EMT. Definitely improve your squad quite a bit without bankrupting you, because I don't think it's worth going after like a Colin Sexton or a Ben Gordon at this stage, because at some point we're going to start getting a bunch of Opal point guards, so you want to save your MT for that. Alright, next up, we got my man Ryan Mcgee. So he's starting Baron. So there's going to be a lot of better squads this time. Shout out to everyone who submitted their squads. There just wasn't a lot of budget options. I tried to pick as many as possible. Okay, you're running Diamond JR. I mean, honestly, it really doesn't matter. They're basically the same card, but... Oh, Chris Middleton. I haven't seen him yet. Okay, well, you locked in for him, so you might as well get your money's worth as much as humanly possible. I actually like this card quite a bit, so... Wayne Embry and Dan Issel. Alright. Dan Issel's not bad, by the way. Alright, so you're running Allen Iverson on the bench. Okay. Solid free card. It's hard to really recommend going away from him. He's still really good. Cam Reddish. Larry Nance. Alright. So you're running a pretty solid bench unit. Okay, here we go. This is why I picked your team. Alright, I remember now. Tim Duncan and Nikola Jokic. Okay. So last I checked, Jokic was still going for 100K, right? So you play zone defense. Everyone that can has range has range. Jokic has Hall of Fame rim protector. You run Hawks 2018 for the most part, and other 5-out sets. Mostly you try to get the ball to open players to shoot threes. You're on current gen. You have 150K to spend. All right. Right off the bat, you can sell Tim Duncan for the same price. Possibly even more MT. I think last I saw Tim Duncan was going for about 50K because it's just, there's not very many of them up. You could basically sell Tim Duncan and swap him for either a Thurl Bailey or an Andre Karolinko. Right off the bat, I would do that. Like, no questions asked. I would do that instantaneously. This actually opens up your team a little bit more, because if you don't like Larry Nance at the small forward, you could actually swap him and Karolinko, because Karolinko can play the small forward just fine. Though I think he works better as power forward, but him and Larry Nance are similar enough players that you can kind of switch that out. Now, right off the bat, that's going to help your team significantly. I don't think moving Chris Middleton down for Cam Reddish really helps your team very much. Neither of them are really primary ball handlers, but they are both free cards that are locked in, so I'm not going to tell you to get rid of them. You might as well use them at this point. There's no real reason. But one thing you could do to actually help your team out is you could swap Dan Issel down, throw Wayne Embry at center, Karolinko starting, because you can find a badged up Karolinko with range extender for like 50, 60K at this point. This basically opens your team up a little bit more in the starting lineup. Now you have more of a traditional 4-and-1 type of team. Wayne Embry can still shoot when he's wide open, obviously, and you said you had him badged out, so that helps. Karolinko's money, Middleton's money, JR and Baron can split ball handling duties, so then you have 3 guys running around getting open. Off the bench, you're going to run into some ball handling issues, so that's kind of the one issue I would have. Cam Reddish I don't usually trust with the ball very much. AI is obviously a great ball handler. Larry Nance is not someone I trust with the ball handling duties either. You could, in theory, get rid of Jokic. I'm guessing you really like Jokic, but you could, in theory, sell him, move Nance over to the power forward, Cam Reddish here, grab like a Glenn Rice or a Rudy Fernandez, who I know I talk about constantly, but when you have budget guys this good, it's hard not to. You could net yourself about 60 MT by doing this, because Rudy Fernandez is only about 30K. Or same with Glenn Rice, he's about that price as well. This opens your team up to play to your strengths a little bit more on the offensive end. It does kind of hurt your defense a little bit, but Dan Issel is a great defensive card. So that's kind of one thing I would say. But you have enough free guys on your squad that I think mainly the thing I would recommend doing if you don't want to completely supplant your team is by going for Andre Karolinko and swapping Tim Duncan for Andre Karolinko. That's like the big thing. If you don't want to sell Jokic and you don't want to break up that front court that you like, I think Andre Karolinko is better than Tim Duncan in literally every aspect of basketball. They're even similar size-wise. So that's going to be the number one thing I would say. Now, obviously, you could follow the tips that I had before and completely uproot your team, but if you don't want to do that, swapping Tim Duncan for Andre Karolinko or Thurl Bailey, I prefer Karolinko. Some people prefer Barrett. I don't know, man. Some people prefer Bailey, but I prefer Andre Karolinko. But I've liked Andre Karolinko forever. But either way, I hope that helped out a little bit. So there's no point in getting rid of or benching Cam Reddish or my man Chris Middleton because they're budget guys. All right, next up, we got my man Big Sid. I think I might have done your team before, but I'm not entirely sure. Jarrett Jack. Wade, I think? Yeah. You got Dwayne Wade. Antoine Jameson at the small forward. Byron Beck at the power forward. Okay, interesting. And then you have Akeem. Okay. Interesting. Then you got Drew Holiday off the bench. Who else do you have? Daniel Gibson badged up. Okay. Solid enough. Oladipo. Okay, so you got a big budget bench. Okay, Oladipo just didn't show up. That's fine. Bobby Jones. Okay, there we go. I like Bobby Jones in there. And Vlade Divac. Okay. Right off the bat, I would say you got about, let's see, 130 MT to work with, 130k MT. You run fast and dunk, press a lot, hit the open men for three. Okay, your bench unit's fine. Like, personal preference, you might like Byron Beck at the power forward. I would swap Antoine Jameson and Byron Beck. That's just me, though. Just helps you on the defensive end and create some more matchup problems when it comes to Jameson with a majority of power forwards. But if you like Jameson to be a primary scorer against small forwards, that just keeps him from getting matched up with like a LeBron or a T-Mac or some other fucking awful-ass card that he has to go against. Because he looks to be one of your primary shooters, so you want him with the easiest matchup possible. Now, off the bench, right off the bat, I would make sure that Drew Holiday is the one playing shooting guard and Daniel Gibson is at point guard. I'm sure you do for the most part, but I did want to specify that. You have that 130k MT. There's a lot of different options. If you wanted to keep it budget, one thing I would recommend doing is getting rid of Oladipo, just benching him. The reason for that, you can get someone who's a little bit better. Not Byron. And if you wanted to keep it with a budget squad, not spend a bunch of MT, you can get Brian Russell for, what, 2K? And his Evo is relatively easy as well. He's going to hold it down as far as defensively, and he's going to be able to hit wide open threes. That's going to be a major adjustment for your team. It'll give you more of a defensive presence for sure. Drew Holiday is good on his own, but if you wanted to move away from Drew Holiday and do it cheaply as well, Air to Follow is a really good option. Him and Brian Russell are relatively similar, but this makes your bench unit more of a 3-and-D type of bench unit. Vlade Divac, if you like him, solid enough player to use, and you don't want to spend enough, or a bunch of MT essentially. That's not a big deal. If you wanted to not use Brian Russell and you wanted to go more and attack the rim and stuff like that, Michael Porter Jr. is obviously like a really good option. MPJ works really well in certain situations. Now, another option, he doesn't have clamps, but him and Bobby Jones play really well next to each other. I used them both in domination, and I actually like that combo. They're similar in size. So if you wanted to go more expensive, you could go, like I said, with like a Rudy Fernandez, Glenn Rice, etc. But I think you're saying that you're more of a budget guy, so I would recommend just staying in the budget area with these guys if you don't already have them. But yeah, like I said, Brian Brian Russell is one of my favorite cards that has come out, and he's still a recent card, so he's still going to play well before 2K nerfs him. So now would be the time to kind of run him. You could run him at shooting guard or small forward. Either one works really well, so you can continue to run Drew Holiday if you're a nice Drew Holiday fan. That way you have 2 primary ball handlers and shooters right here. And Brian Russell has like gold range extender, catch and shoot. He's got wonderful badges, and he plays elite level defense. So he's definitely going to help your squad out quite a bit. So hopefully that helps you out. I am not entirely sure. Brian Russell can attack the rim a little bit, but is not like his main gameplay loop, so that's kind of going to be an issue, but I still think it works out well. That's just me. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, next up we got my man Bernardo. I am pretty sure I said that right. Been watching a lot of Attack on Titan. I almost said Bertold for some reason. You got Oscar Robertson, Pink Diamond. Okay, love that right off the bat. One of my favorite cards in the game. Rudy Fernandez. Okay, someone's been watching my channel. I like that too. Jack Marin. Okay. Yup. I still don't have him. He still hasn't showed up for me. Larry Bird. Okay. And Kristaps. Alright. Solid. Super white starting lineup, but solid nonetheless. You're running Pink Diamond Rose off the bench. Okay. Cam Reddish. I wish I would know if he was locked in or not. Middleton. Okay. Aaron Gordon and Demarcus Cousins. Okay. Alright, right off the bat, Cousins is going for about 150. I promise you when I say that if you swap out Cousins and you sell him and go buy Dino and make that profit, it makes your team a lot better. I'm not even kidding. It opens up a lot of your team right off the bat. Now, if you're a big Cousins fan, you can stick with Cousins. I just think Dino makes a lot. He's better than Cousins. I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. He's a better card than Cousins. Not many people are going to agree with that, but I swear it is the truth. Now, Derrick Rose is tough because he's going for under 100K now. So I don't know necessarily if it's worth really swapping him out at this point. I think the one major upgrade to your team would be that Dino thing because that adds another ball handler onto your bench. I don't trust Demarcus Cousins to run any type of like point center situation, but I literally trust Dino Rasha to do so. Hey, I know Dino's price is steep at about 70K right now, but you're still profiting about 60, 70K after selling Decuz. So it might actually make a lot of sense to go Raja in that scenario instead. As far as you have 600K MT right off the bat, you use Mike D'Antoni, which is great. You 5-out rim run and pick and roll for the most part, and you're on current gen. So pick and roll, get shooters open, tech the rim. Okay. I still think Dino makes more sense for your team. This makes your team better, in my opinion. Now, one thing I will say is I like that you have Larry Bird next to Kristaps because Kristaps is so huge, it kind of hides Larry Bird's defensive issues. I mean, he's good defensively, but he's just kind of small at the power forward. So, I don't know. I like the starting lineup. Personally, I'm putting Kristaps on the bench and running Dino, but Dino actually makes more sense for the bench unit that you have. Because if you look at your bench unit, like Cam Reddish, Chris Middleton, Aaron Gordon, none of those guys are really premier ball handlers. They'll get the ball stolen pretty frequently. And they're just not great ball handlers on their own. Adding Dino to the mix, who is a really good ball handler and can run that point center, does take some of the pressure off Rose, so instantly that makes it a little bit easier to operate on offense. Plus, he's got a 7'11 wingspan, so he's going to compensate for Aaron Gordon being a little bit small at the power forward. So I think this actually makes a lot more sense. One thing that you could also do, too, is you could take either Cam Reddish or Chris Middleton and throw them up top and bring Rudy Fernandez down. That just adds another playmaker to your bench who can still hold his own on defense. Because Jack Marin can handle the ball, Larry Bird can handle the ball, Oscar Robertson can handle the ball. You're not really going to need Cam Reddish to take up ball handling duties. Whereas on the bench, you got two guys right here that are not great ball handlers. So adding someone who is a pretty good ball handler is going to help a lot, especially for the type of offense that you run. So you're going to notice a little bit of uptick in productivity from your bench unit. But if you're a big Rudy fan, you could obviously stay like this. But I think overall, the team looks a lot better like this than it did before. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know I'm overhyping Dino, but I promise he really is that good. I score like 20, 30 points a game with this dude, and I'm honestly, truly not that good at 2K. All right, so next we got my man YB. So I like his budget squad as well. We got Petrie, Rudy Fernandez. All right, we got another white-ass team right off the rip. Cam Reddish. All right. I like this squad already. This is a solid budget squad. Antoine Jameson, who I constantly spell wrong. There we go. And what do we got here? Ayton. All right. Ayton makes sense for that unit, actually. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so you got Jarrett Jack, Evo doing Amethyst. Okay, solid. Aaron Afalo. Boom. Eddie Jones. Okay. Thurl and Surge. Okay. Really solid squad right off the rip here. Current gen, Hawks 2018, driving kicks for the most part. Pick and roll, 110k MT. Okay. Cool. Solid budget squad. I like the starting lineup a lot. A lot of ball handling, a lot of shooting. Ayton's really good defensively, so he actually makes sense, and he can hit wide open, so he anchors this team a little bit, kind of makes up for Antoine Jameson being a little weaker interior. He can still rebound pretty well, but yeah. Petrie and Fernandez, that's fine. I like the bench unit, super budget option, but I like it. I wonder if you're having any specific problems with the bench unit. I could see you having scoring issues down here because you have like 4 defensive specialists and then 1 ball handler. I could see that being somewhat of an issue, for sure. How to rectify that without killing your MT is going to be the problem here. Because even Glenn Rice would be a great option, but I don't know how much better he really is than Eddie Jones. He's definitely... He's larger, he shoots better, but like... tough. I mean, I like Aaron Afalo. Aaron Afalo is good. I don't think there's much you can do to this bench unit aside from trading in Thurl Bailey for AK. I know I say it a lot, but that is definitely something that's going to help out a lot, just because it adds an extra ball handler to the mix. I just don't trust Thurl Bailey personally to run like a point forward type situation, but I do trust Andre Karolinko to do so. So that's something, obviously, that I would do. One other thing I would really do, if you don't want to do that, I would just hold fast on your team until we get Friday, because I think we are going to get Retro 2K, and there's going to be some really good cards in that set, so I think that's something that will help you out a lot by going that route with it. Just because the team is fine. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with the squad. I like the squad, especially for your playstyle, and I like it for the MT amount as well. The only things I would recommend doing are, like, personal preference stuff, you know? Like, Surge, it can handle himself just fine interior as of right now. Like, Thurl Bailey's great defensively. You have 3 good shooters out there, too. Thurl can shoot wide open. You are lacking some ball handling. But any of the cheaper alternatives that I could offer, you know, Glenn Rice isn't really going to help too much in this scenario, I don't think, anyway. Michael Porter Jr. would be a pretty good option. Instead of Aaron Afalo, you could always slide over Eddie Jones and go MPJ. I mean, that's a really good move as well. You could even... I don't know how much Brian Russell's really helping. I don't know how much he is over Aaron Afalo. Like, I prefer Brian Russell over Aaron Afalo, but, like, I don't know if that does much. You are going to have to put clamps on MPJ as well. So that is another, like, hindrance to his card. JR from the Inferno set is a little expensive, so it's not really worth going to get him. He's about 50k. It's not worth it at all. Yeah, I mean, realistic, I would just hold fast till Friday until we get some new content. You have a good enough budget squad that can put up a fight. Like I said, the MPJ thing is a personal preference, but just because you're lacking size with Eddie Jones down there at small forward, but at the same time, if you're fine with him and Aaron Afalo, this is a very well-rounded starting lineup. Like I said, you got some ball handling issues down off the bench. I mean, Eddie Jones can handle the ball, but it's not someone that I, like, tout as a great ball handler. Same with Aaron Afalo. But you have enough ball handling that you should be able to make it through the rest of the week. And then we'll reevaluate Friday when we get those new cards. We might even get some new Moments cards that are really good. Jeremy Grant is another good option. Like, he's free, and Jeremy Grant's real fun. Sabonis is another free option. He actually is very good. You could plug him in from Ibaka. Once again, he kind of needs clamps. He doesn't have clamps, but at the same time, you could put it on him, I guess. But that adds a little bit more offensive versatility to your team. You have pretty good defense already. Having Sabonis start, well, like bench start, obviously, and then have Ibaka on the rebound in case you need a defensive stopper, in case they have somebody like a Dino Raja or something on their bench that's going to kill Sabonis. That's another option. Having Jeremy Grant available is, once again, a good option. Michael Porter Jr., having him there as well. This is going to really hurt your overall, though, which is the main problem. Like, this is going to catapult your overall. So you only want, like, one of these guys on your bench third. But I think maybe Sabonis actually makes the most sense. I like Ibaka a lot, and he plays really good interior defense. But if you were to drop Thurl Bailey, move Ibaka over to power forward, and had Sabonis at center, that way you have Ibaka kind of holding him over. Or you could just run with Thurl Bailey and Sabonis, but I think that brings a little bit more offense to your team, and it costs you almost no MT. So, well, no, it costs you literally no MT. Now, if you didn't get Sabonis, then that's going to be kind of a huge problem, and I don't think he's available to get, so you'll have to go after... Oh, yeah, that's tough. If that's the case, then I would just hold fast with your team and just wait till for Friday's content, because I think it's going to be really good. Or do one of the other things I said. This team's a little hard to gauge, but anyways, as always, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. Thanks everyone for submitting. I definitely try to do everybody, so if I did someone twice, let me know down in the comments. Not to be rude and not do you again, but I just want to give everybody else a chance. So I try not to do as many God Squads, just because there's not much I can really say when you have 1.9 million MT and you have Tracy McGrady and LeBron James. I mean, how many tips can I really give you at that point? But other than that, check the description for all my stuff. I will be bringing back the tier list and doing the small forwards and power forwards later. The website I use, Tier Maker, is down right now, so that's why I'm doing this instead of doing the tier list videos. So definitely want to check those out when they do come out, though I'm not sure when those are going to be. I'm going to try to do it as soon as possible. Hopefully the website is back up so I can go ahead and do that. The small forward tier list is going to be a bit divisive. I can already tell you that. Same with the power forwards. So also shout out to everyone who told me that I should balance my tier list better. Okay, first off, number one, it's impossible to balance the tier list while still doing the tier list correctly. I want to put that out there, because D and C tiers should have majority of the cards in them, because majority of the cards in this game are bang average. I can't just start putting cards in D or B just because I want it to look prettier. I try to do these a little bit like as realistic as possible. So C and D tier are going to be overly plump with cards. F tier is not going to have that many cards, because truly there aren't really that many worthless cards at this point in the game. So anyways, I'll be back with more content later. Check out my pack opening if you haven't, and I appreciate all you guys, so peace.